that you just kind of, hey, well, I'll do this, you do that. And there's not necessarily money changing hands, but I've seen in buildings, and one complaint that we get a lot is that there's again, comeback insurance, 3 years after fighting something, the insurance company cuts an HOA a check for $300,000. It's because of a particular damage that was done. Some of the people that live there rightfully believe that that money should be spent to fix the damage that the insurance was covering. The new board president thinks, I don't really care about the dog park. I care about having new glass balconies. I don't want old metal railings. And so they force things through, and they can hire the engineers. And so I'll get complaints saying that that's theft. I'm like, well, if the money is spent towards the enhancement of the condominium or the HOA, I don't view that as theft. It's not really theft. It may be mismanagement. So, really a good board attorney and a good property management company can kind of guide people, assuming that they're not criminals. I mean, there are people that get on some boards that I have very direct experience with that are literally criminals that just got on a board because they want to do crime. I mean, that's what they do. Some people just kind of end up that way because they see that they can take advantage of a situation. Very different. So a good property management company and a good board attorney can do wonders. The thing is, it's finding that person, and that's obviously the challenge. And that's why homeowners have to be aware. I've been to meetings, I've been on site inspections to a lot of associations because people want me to come out and see things, how poorly maintained the properties are, et cetera. Some meetings are not even attended. I mean, there's no one there. So the board, why are we even having a meeting? And so some boards go a year without having a meeting. I mean, which to me is insane. So, you have to keep an eye on things. So going back to the original question, self-managed, if the people have a core competency, but if they're just, an eager retiree, that has no training or experience in accounting or anything else, and they're just going to run things the way they see fit, you may be better off with a property management company, even though a little bit of money sometimes invested can do wonders. So again, I'm not endorsing any particular one, but don't automatically, everybody wants to save money, and they save money, and sometimes it ends up costing them money in the end.
So I think one of the issues we see a lot of times is people don't get involved until it starts to hurt their pockets. And that's when they start to say, well, what is going on? So it's important that when looking into purchasing at an association, or if you're living in an association, is to get involved early and make sure that you know what's going on. I don't know if anybody wants to speak on that.
I just wanted to emphasize that point. Get involved in your association. Just like John said, I visit HOAs across the state, and some of which are very well attended. I think there's a fantastic crowd here today. But the majority of the HOA meetings that I attend to are maybe 10, 20 people. Less than 50 people at the max. So, I think it's probably maybe part of my job or our job as a government to maybe emphasize that participation in your association, not just in association, really in everything, in government and everything, but particularly in your HOA, because unfortunately the HOA is your most local form of government. It's a privatized form of quasi-elected government, essentially. So if you're not involved with your association, you cannot have any say in really how it goes, who is on the board, what's on the budget. And I know we talked about it before, but you as a homeowner, you signed obviously on the contract to live in this association. It is your job, not mine, not anyone on this board, to know the bylaws of that association front and back. You should know what you signed up on, what you're still a part of, so that when you go to these HOA board meetings, you know what to talk about, you know what's on the what's supposed to be on the budget, what's supposed to be on the bylaws. And if there's an irregularity going on, you know how to tackle that, whether that be through my office, or that be through civil court, or through the state attorney's office. So I just wanted to emphasize that point. Obviously, Tallahassee, we're working hard to keep, expanding the scope. Obviously, we did a great job with the condo bill this year, expanding DBPR's scope and jurisdiction to handle some criminal complaints that we've been seeing, because for condominiums especially, with these shared residencies, with the shared roofs, and obviously the middle to lower income communities that live in a lot of these condo associations need that extra assistance from our government, and we allocated about $16 million this past session to tackle that, obviously. And with HOAs, I know we're getting there. Obviously, you know, there are many more HOAs in our state than condo associations. But you know, it's my job as a legislator, and I can tell you, representing the largest HOA in the state and the largest communities of HOAs, and probably in the country, that it's our priority to make sure that we keep expanding these laws and give you all the tools necessary to tackle these corrupt boards. But I just wanted to emphasize, obviously, that personal education. So,
Thank you. So,
Thank you. So there's so much in this new legislation that we're all going to be talking about in great length as soon as it's signed by the governor. But again, there are rights in meetings now on an agenda item. There's a more unit owner right to speak up on agenda items on these types of special assessment or other expenditures. There, again, as we said, quarterly as opposed to just the requirement for an annual meeting. Expand digital access. Now associations that have 25 or more units are going to be required as opposed to what it is currently, which is 150 units. There really are expanded responsibilities of the association and expanded consumer rights. It's very much more consumer protective. And also, as you correctly point out, the expanded jurisdiction of the DBPR and their reach. Things like fidelity bond or things like debit cards, or restrictions on you have to have a board vote for a board member to use the debit card. So there's so much in this new legislation that's really going to benefit unit owners and associations. So we're going to be mindful of that and continue to explore that.
thank you. I have one final question, and then I want to open it up to the public. We've got about 15 minutes, and if you have a question in Spanish, you can ask it. I think mostly everybody here speaks Spanish. Yes? No? Okay. Well, we can help translate, but I know that there is some people in the room that have a question in Spanish that we may be able to answer. Here's what I will say. We will not get into specifics about your condo. So please ask general questions that can help everybody understand the topic. But I have one final question before we open it up to the public. As local government, we're the direct link between those homeowners many times and what they believe is the solution. And so they come to our office with similar as to they may come to the police station saying, help, I don't know what to do, and I don't have money to hire an attorney, and I don't have money to hire a company, but I know that this is going on, and here's the proof. They gave me this quote, and it's $100,000 more than a quote I got that can save the association that money. What resources or maybe organizations and what money maybe can the state put, if there is any, that can help some of these homeowners obtain professional help to represent them in a pro bono or a way that will give them services they may need without having to expend money that they may not have because they're already victims?
thank you, Mayor. And I know I touched upon this, obviously, you know, with the expanded jurisdiction of DBPR. I just want to emphasize our offices, at least mine in specific, as a state representative, and you know, any of our state officials who operate with DBPR can get you. I mean, obviously, I'm a state official. I'm not going to charge you to give you advice on how to improve your homeowner association. However, legislatively and through the budget, obviously, I've particularly worked with several different organizations. This past year, we wrote an appropriation for about $5 million to the Cuban American Bar Association that I work very closely with for a pro bono clinic that specializes in foreclosure and condo and HOA related issues. So, you know, personally, I've been very devoted on that, but specifically for local governments, I'm experimenting next year with some legislation on giving some more authority to our local sheriffs. I know here in Dade County we'll be having one at the end of this year, hopefully. So I'm working on possibly expanding our local government or our local law enforcement officials to have that ability to investigate crimes and these specific fields, because I know since they operate under state statutes, it's a little bit more difficult. We have certain limitations for that. But that's something that personally I'm working towards. Also with the appropriation silo. DBPR is very expensive. Also, I just mentioned the $16 million just for the extended scope of condominiums. My first year as a legislator, I proposed a bill expanding all of DBPR to HOAs, and they gave me a $30 million price tag. So unfortunately, that was not viewed upon very well as a freshman legislator. We tackled it differently this year with condos, and we were able to get the price tag down a little bit, and it got passed, thankfully. But obviously, I'd love to probably explore different options than just having it all centralized to DBPR. If we can use local government, if we can use local law enforcement, I'd love to be able to do that. And obviously, with some of these great organizations like Tamara's, and other corporate companies out there that help with these HOAs and consult homeowners, I think it would be best to localize some of that. So I'm looking forward to working on.
Give us local enforcement. We'll take care of it.
I just wanted to answer one section of your question. I can't tell you where to go for pro bono assistance. Obviously we'll answer questions. I get emails all the time, and I'll try my best. The scenario you described happens quite a bit. That the HOA will request bids for a particular project, a painting project. I will tell you, and I don't have a hard and fast number in my mind, but if you have a painting project that was $200,000, and then you have one bid $250, one that's $225, and one that's $195. One of those that are selected, who am I to say, well, to micromanage and say, well, clearly there's something wrong with this. There's nothing that the police or I can do about that. I will tell you that if something came in at $100,000 over the other bids and they accepted that one, what is a logical person going to think? Okay, that Ned's painting company is really that much better, or that there's something else going on. So just on a personal level, I have gotten complaints like that, and I sometimes will call the property management company or the board attorney to try to get some insight into it. So I don't call that a criminal investigation. I call that just my sort of natural curiosity. If the explanation sounds plausible, there's not a lot that I can do. But if I think that if I could establish with a discrepancy that you describe, something is so dramatically out of line, the first thing that's going to come into any person's mind is there's some kickback, there's something that's happening, and then I might look at it. But if we're talking about a 10% or 15% difference, it's very difficult for us to penetrate that, and the boards have an enormous discretion and authority to do that, and that's why you have to kind of be on top of your boards.
Address that, and then if you have a question on this side of the room, we're going to start here and work our way, but we want to limit it because we do want to get to the next ones. Remember, open session from 1 to 4. You can go and ask these individuals that will be at their table directly their questions, okay?
I just want to tack on to my earlier comments. Now, I think one of the great little nuggets of this new legislation is the anti-retaliatory provisions. So the legislature tacked on to the SLAP statute, 718-1224, that basically, if you do want to speak up and you do want to challenge, you no longer have the same fear of retaliation, because associations, what they've been doing is they've been hitting up unit owners with defamation, slander, and other types of lawsuits. And I'm sure there are people in the room that have got cease and desist letters. How many people here have had cease and desist letters sent to them? Well, guess what? No longer can association use your money and your resources to sue you for defamation and slander. As long as you have some, that's a little known, but it's going to be more well known. So no longer do you have that fear of reprisal as long as you're within the zone. And there's some restrictions on that, but the idea is a condominium is self-governance, right? It's self-governing proposition. So now you can say and speak and so forth. So I think that's really important to know.
The last thing that I wanted to add is that even though there may not be a lot of attorneys out there that are doing pro bono work, there is a lot of free services. I myself attended numerous webinars that Dana Goldman has put together. Eisinger Law does numerous webinars. They even do the board certifications for free, and you don't have to be a board member to attend. The DBPR2 puts several webinars a month. Twice a year, they do the board certification in Spanish. My entire staff joins all those DBPR webinars. They talk about recall, financials, responsibilities. So there is a lot of free resources out there that you can take advantage of.
Let's go to the questions. We're going to start on this side. Please keep them as brief as possible.
Hello? Hello? Yes, hi, how you doing? So I'm going back to, I'm sorry, your name is, that lawyer, Dana, if I'm correct. Dana, the better question is, how many people in here went to jail for retaliating against their HOA? Me, I have. You guys could actually search me up, CBS4 Ramblewood East. You can see that we have a $4 million lien. I've been extremely vocal. I testified in Tallahassee in regards to Senate Bill 1178. I was the only person in Florida who actually attended any of those committees. So going back to what you said in regards to incompetence, I completely agree, because it's hard to educate people when they refuse to educate themselves. So I do want to thank you for that. I want to thank Juan Perez for being the architect of my inspiration in regards to HOA fighting for them. What you did with the hammocks was extremely heroic. And I know you don't get as much credit as you should, because the people that are being called condo queen and condo kings, they're not addressing you as the condo king. So I do want to address Juan Perez as condo king Perez. Another question that I do have. All right, I'm gonna wrap it up, but I have to get across, and I have to say what I have to say, because this question is for everybody here. My biggest question is, and this is in regards to the DBPR, because I have beef with you guys right now. I have a case number right now in regards to the records request. My question is, and I have two questions. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to take these two questions. But my question is, really, after I do provide the DBPR with the complaint and I ask for the records request, why is that each and every time they're given more than 14 days? I have a case right now which they're past their 14th day to provide me those records. So I don't understand why, when I do speak to the DBPR, they constantly reiterate a bunch of garbage, which doesn't make sense. They talk to us disrespectfully, and they're not as nice as you. They're not as reputable as you. Trust me, because when you speak to them, they hang up the phone, they do all types of stuff. And you guys you're not aware of that, because I understand that you guys are in a more reputable position. That's my biggest problem. And I appreciate your applause. This just only gives me confirmation that we're all,
Thank you.
Question.
Let
me ask my question, because I've been here a whole year asking politicians, going to Tallahassee, participating in different free events, and nothing's been done. So I need to ask these questions. I traveled all the way in Coral Springs on a bus pass. So my question right now is, even after it, let's just say we're in a position, I want to go back to the hammocks, because they actually beat the demon, and they're actually in the fire still, because their receivership, the receivership that they have now, it doesn't benefit them. I've asked somebody in the hammocks, how is it now after they removed the president? And it only got worse, because
Okay. We have to move on. Okay, you asked a question about public records. We're gonna address it real quick, but please remember the questions need to be general. Okay, and then you could go to each table individually. Yes, they're trying.
Can you hear me?
No, it's all right. They're gonna answer.
I
Go ahead.
love the passion here today. I just wanted to thank the gentleman, obviously, for making his way all the way over here. I know I've spoken to him in the past. In regards to the public records request, I apologize sincerely on behalf of the state if they've treated you in any sort of way that's disparaging, or as state officials, as government, they should be giving you the best amount of service possible. So I want to make sure that gets properly treated. So if you reach out to my office or whoever is your state official, I'd love to have a conversation with them and make sure that's remediated. If you have a case number already, obviously my office, Carmen and Sebastian, who are here, can help you make sure that after we get that case number, that I can personally talk to DBPR, or one of them can talk to them and make sure that case is either already being worked on or somebody's taking a second look. So I'd love to do that, and obviously we're doing what I can. Obviously I've only been in the legislature for 2 years, and I think we passed 2 of the largest HOA reform bills in the state's history. So I'd like to think we've done a pretty decent job so far.
Yes.
But obviously there's a lot of work left to be done.
Thank you. Thank you. Next question. Yes.
Good morning. Can you hear me? Good morning, everyone. I have 3 quick, very specific questions.
One question. You can ask one.
I know everybody
Well,
would benefit from these questions. Number 1, what is the proper form to request records? Because I am a rare unit owner that has gone to every meeting for the past 15 years. I have received mixed messages.
Okay, that's a great question.
We are quoting, can I finish, please? Quoting the specific statute 718 and 720, because I live in a condo within an HOA. I have received mixed messages. Does it have to be certified mail? Because Spencer Hennings once told me it can be via email. Can it be email? Yes or no? Must it be certified?
We're going to answer that because that's a great question.
So the DBPR is here and they're going to have a presentation in a little bit, but the DBPR has a form, and their form will quote the statute on top. If you live in a condo within an HOA, but you're requesting the records for the condo and not for your master, then you have to make sure that the statute has the 718. If you're going to request the ones for the master within the HOA, then you get that. But I do want to add that one of the reasons that your complaint is viable is when you show proof that they received it. So that's the reason that you want to send it certified mail, because you can track that it was received and you'll have that green card back.
Thank you very much.
Return receipt request.
Yeah, return receipt.
If you can get the manager to sign off on it. New legislation, there's a new checklist concept, right? So basically, if these documents that you're requesting are posted on the website, the association can confirm, and they have to provide a checklist, and there's gonna be a slight change in the format of obtaining and requesting and receiving documents, and I think a lot of that will become digitalized as we go along.
To that same question, do you have to use certain verbiage, or can I just say pursuant to statute 720.333, I've memorized it, I'm requesting this one tiny record, it's not on the website. Do I have to use certain verbiage, or can I just quote that specific statute?
You can just quote the specific statute, but I want to add that even if you ask for financials and they'll say that they're on the website, oftentimes they don't put the bank statements. So you have to be specific. If you want to see financial statements or bank statements, you have to be specific.
Right. Specifically state what you're looking for is what she's trying to say. If you say just financials and not bank statements, or if you're looking for a particular month, because otherwise they'll just load you with a lot of information you may not need.
Hello. What I was asking for was a non-financial record. It was a specific record to an asset that we have paid for that we can't use. And I've been asking for over 2 years. Very simple, and I still don't get it.
Make sure to come see one of them in their table, and they can maybe look at specifically. So from 1 to 4, again, the attorneys will be giving free legal consultations, and also all of these representatives will be at their tables providing service and help. Okay?
I have a question.
Yes.
Thank you all, Madam Mayor, for putting this together in the panel for your expertise. Just one question on the digitization of record requests. We all have owner platforms and portals. for key condo association documents. So in this case, if there's documents that are tied into an improvement of the building or so forth and so on, those should all be provided to owners. And so how do we request that? I've already sent it certified mail requesting it. It has yet to be uploaded. But I believe there's a clause that says digital information can be provided via owner portal. So how do we combat that if we can't get it?
It's the same process. You can still do a DBPR complaint if it's not. One of the things that we do when the association refers us to the website, if it's not on there, we take a screenshot. So you have to understand that from the beginning, you need to make sure that you're clear not only in what you're asking and that you're entitled to those documents as well, because people don't understand that you're not entitled to everything. But also, make sure that you send it certified mail, that you take copies. We always send a second request, not because you need it, but I want to make sure that the DBPR investigator sees that we made several attempts and they were ignored.
Okay, next question.
Buenos días. Quería hacer una pregunta general basado en algo específico que el sargento Luffy y Tamara Reyes conocen, pero la pregunta es para usted, representante Juan Porras. En la parte de atrás tengo unas personas que Tamara las conoce en un condominio de bajos recursos. Párense, por favor, párense ustedes. Perdieron casas, le han puesto un assessment de $216,000 en una comunidad de bajos recursos. Y no solamente eso, luego ellos la compraron por $30,000. Entonces yo quiero, y sabemos que hay una mafia adentro. Yo soy abogada venezolana y activista comunitaria, muchas personas me conocen, pues siempre ando con una flor, a veces no se acuerdan de mi nombre, pero esa es la razón que tengo siempre una flor conmigo. Tamara me conoce. ¿Cómo es posible que unas personas de bajos recursos de la tercera edad los dejes en la calle? No es posible. Tengo otra señora de Jayalía que está por aquí, que su casa está podrida de mold, nadie le hace caso. Entonces yo quiero saber concretamente, mi pregunta es, con todos los cambios que yo sé, porque he estado con usted en algunos eventos, en la radio, en todas partes, ¿usted cree, y con los obstáculos que se ha enfrentado, Tamara ha revisado cientos de documentos, he ido a la oficina del sargento Luffy y nos ha tratado de ayudar? ¿Usted cree que con estas nuevas leyes ellos van a poder hacer su trabajo de una manera eficiente para acabar con este crimen y tipificarlo de otra manera diferente? Esto no es crimen económico, esto es crimen organizado, porque están involucradas varias personas. Entonces,
Gracias.
tienen que cambiar la tipificación de la ley. No es crimen económico, es crimen organizado.
Gracias, Isabel.
Como ellos.
Gracias. Conocemos de este caso, no sé si alguien quiere rápidamente, creo que la pregunta de ella es que si ese tipo de situación va a ser más, va a haber más penalidades con la nueva ley.
Puedo contestar hoy, me di gracias por estar aquí, yo sé que hemos hablado antes. Rotundamente sí, y yo no puedo, o sea, la opinión mía no solo es mía, es todos los que están aquí. Con estas nuevas leyes, el Estado estamos dando las oportunidades para no solo ustedes como los propietarios, pero también nuestras fuerzas legales, nuestros investigadores, a tener estas nuevas oportunidades para investigar, para tener las leyes necesarias para poner a estas personas en la prisión. Obviamente nada de esto existió antes de 2 años, antes que yo me elegía a esta posición. Con estas nuevas penalidades hasta de felonía, algunas de ellas hasta de felonía para lo que llamamos los kickbacks, que es lo que habíamos hablado hace poco, incluyendo también penalidades criminales para las elecciones, las penalidades para la destrucción de los documentos, cosas básicas que uno piensa que ya son delitos, no lo eran, específicamente no lo eran. Ahora muchos de ellos sí lo son. Ahora lo más importante es saber qué es lo que es ilegal, qué es lo que no es, y si es algo criminal o si es algo civil. Es lo que estábamos hablando hace un rato atrás. En inglés, y obviamente en mi oficina podemos tratar de ayudar con eso. Obviamente la oficina de Tamara también se especializa en muchas de esas cosas. Exactamente. Sí. Yo sé. Pero bueno.
Ok, gracias. Vamos a la próxima. Next question.
Permiso,
I'm gonna do my
permiso.
question in English.
Permiso,
Okay.
I'm sorry. Y la señora que tiene el problema con el mold, el abogado Eric González, se especializa en eso mismo. Si una unidad tiene daños, él ayuda a los propietarios con eso y muchas veces lo hacen un contingency a donde no tienen ni que pagar. Okay.
So, but really quick, her question was about the same thing we were talking about previously on penalties in the new law. So she has a case of an issue that unfortunately did not fall under criminal penalties because it wasn't in the law. It is in the new law. We were just establishing that in Spanish. No problem. Okay.
Okay, my question I'm gonna do in English and in Spanish for people. Okay, the BPR I just passed by and they tell me they only rule and control condo association. What happened on HOA association? Because HOA association here in Doral are huge and manage a lot of money. So I am in HOA. So how can I, what person I can contact? Because DBPR just told me, no, we just rule and control and inform the condo association. You just tell me that information. That's why I was in shock because I thought DBPR also take care with HOA association, not just condo association.
Okay, let's go ahead and
Do in Spanish?
ahora lo traduce. Okay.
So very quickly, and I'll do it in English and in Spanish. DBPR historically has only dealt under the statute with condominiums, with Chapter 718. Before a lot of these new laws existed, they absolutely had nothing to do with HOAs until these recent shortcomings. And I think it's important to notice in the statute also what DBPR can and cannot do. Until this year, until this law that's going to pass this year, they didn't even cover criminal investigations. They only covered certain financial issues, they covered election disputes, and they covered very specific issues, access to records. And that was it. Before this new law. Now with House Bill 1021 that I co-sponsored along with Representative Vicky Lopez, DBPR will now be able to investigate certain written complaints that have to do with criminal issues. And now I'll say that in Spanish. Yo pienso que es sumamente importante saber las limitaciones que tenemos en la ley hoy en día con DBPR, que sea con los condominios y las asociaciones. Antes de estas leyes que han pasado, que yo las propuse este año, DBPR no tuvo la jurisdicción, el directivo a poder investigar estas asociaciones en la gran mayoría de los aspectos. Históricamente se han investigado a ciertas cosas de documentos, de crímenes económicos o de ciertos asuntos de elecciones. Ahora con esta nueva ley el Estado le ha dado suficientes recursos para poder investigar otros casos que ya son más parte criminales. Pero no hemos llegado a un punto obviamente con los HOAs, con las asociaciones. Como sabes, hay más de 6 millones de personas en la Florida que viven en una asociación HOA. Los condominios obviamente mucho más pequeños, son comunidades mucho más con menos recursos. Estamos especializando en los que tienen más necesidad en el momento. Obviamente no para decir que las asociaciones no lo merecen. Y es algo que yo personalmente estoy dedicado a cambiar desde que me eligen. O sea, yo represento los hammocks y todo. Kendall, la comunidad mía lo necesita más que cualquiera. Y obviamente en otras partes de Miami y hasta muchas partes del estado hemos visto la necesidad para DBPR y muchas de estas investigaciones para incluir a los HOAs. Obviamente no hemos llegado a un punto como estado por los recursos, pero estamos expandiendo todo lo que hemos podido al momento para poder en el futuro ver cómo DBPR ahora con estas nuevas leyes, cómo van a operar con las investigaciones para poder expandirlo para las asociaciones en otro año.
Ok, tenemos una pregunta acá, and then voy para este lado y por atrás, ¿ok? Tengo que venir para este lado. Sí.
Hola, Primeramente quiero darle las gracias a usted, alcaldesa, por haberse dado la molestia de llamarnos con este tema que nos está afectando tanto. Mi pregunta es para el señor representante Porras. La voy a hacer en inglés. My question is about how the new law support us as a unit owner to cover the process costs or cost to do the forensic audit, do the high cost of that kind of the investigation. I understand we need to be educated and how to make the request and how to write a good complaint through DVPR, but personally, when the fraud is evident, we need to hire Tamara's company. But the cost is so high. How does the owner cover 10,000 or more with their pocket? Is there any legislation when that cost need to be covered by the HOA funds? Actually, we are being affected with high HOA costs, and we must pay $1,000 to investigate our financial association. We get frustrated. I repeat, how does the new law support us on that matter? Will the owner have the SOM office or DVPR office to ask that kind of support? O sea, mi pregunta es, si nosotros estamos siendo golpeados, assessment, aumentos en asociaciones, cuando descubrimos que nuestra asociación evidentemente está mal utilizando nuestro dinero, es evidente, hay obras que no han sido realizadas y nos han cobrado millones de dólares. ¿Cómo hacemos nosotros, una persona, una familia, para contratar una compañía tan valiosa como lo es la compañía de la señora Tamara para hacer una auditoría forense? Si queremos investigar 2 o 3 años, son más de $15,000, $20,000. Es mucho dinero. La nueva legislación nos apoyará. ¿Habrá alguna oficina a donde nosotros podamos acudir? Porque este costo no debería ser asumido por un dueño. Esto debería ser soportado por los fondos del que nosotros hemos pagado. Adicionalmente, ¿los abogados de la asociación van a trabajar para los dueños o van a trabajar para los miembros del BOAR?
So, yo creo que yo pregunté la pregunta casi igual, so si la puedes contestar en español, porque...
I'll do it both. Se puede hacer inglés y español, no worries. So, under my bill, House Bill 1203 for Homeowners Association, I believe the condo statute has something similar. We have now mandated in forensic audits for all HOAs that have over 1,000 units. Now, under previous law, that law was already included for any association that had over a $500,000 budget. But we wanted to make sure that these associations now have the smaller associations, especially most of which here in Miami-Dade County or in South Florida have over 1,000 units. We wanted to make sure that you as a homeowner have that tool. Unfortunately, there is not an auditing office or not at the state level. There's not something that we could do. However, with this bill, with House Bill 1203, while we mandated that the association have this audit, they can either do it in-house through their association funds or one of their board members or anyone. I mean, I wanted to emphasize also, you don't have to do it through a company. Any sort of person that's specified as a CPA, any person that has the ability to do a forensic audit can do it. You don't have to hire a company that charges $20,000, and then so there. I'm sure there are many resources out here that can help you find somebody affordable, find something that's able to be used for your community. But I do think it's important that these audits do happen because that's the only way that you even really realize that something's happening in your community. So unfortunately, while we do not have a state auditing office, I think if you work with a auditing company or with somebody that's able to give a certain rate for the association, now that it's mandatory, I'm sure we can find something sustainable. Yeah. So some of the most effective investigations that we've seen personally are ones that the same homeowners have been able to do. So you don't have to have a forensic person to spend thousands of dollars if you as a group of homeowners can do it yourselves, obviously. Y bueno, lo voy a decir un poco en español ahora. La nueva ley que pasó, que yo fui el sponsor, la ley 1203, puso mandatoriamente hacer una auditoría de una asociación que tiene más de 1,000 unidades. Y eso lo que significa que cada año, cuando hay un presupuesto de estas asociaciones, o la asociación se tiene que encargar de hacer esa auditoría o alguien de la comunidad tiene que hacerlo. Obviamente no estamos diciendo que debes usar una compañía que vale 10 de miles de dólares para hacer. Los mismos propietarios, cualquier persona que puede que sea un CPA o hasta las mismas investigaciones de los propietarios, nosotros hemos visto que muchas de las investigaciones que han dado más fruta, más resultado, ha sido de los propios comunitarios de la asociación y pienso que la importancia de esta auditoría no se puede sumar más de lo que estoy diciendo. Es la única manera que usted como un residente puede saber dónde se está usando estos fondos. Sí, en ciertos casos muchas de estas compañías lo hacen, muchas personas lo pueden hacer en sus propias comunidades, pero tristemente no tenemos una oficina a nivel estatal para poder hacer eso, porque eso tendríamos que hacer una auditoría para cada condominio en el estado. Me imagino que va a ser un poco costoso, pero estamos trabajando en eso y sí.
Ok. Ok, gracias, gracias. Claro. Ok, gracias, gracias. Creo que Tamara va a responderle.
Quiero que las personas entiendan que aunque el estatuto dice que una asociación ingresa $500,000 al año, tiene que ser un audit, esos auditores lo que están buscando es que las cuentas reconcile a final del año. Si tienen que hacer journal entries, eso es lo que ellos están buscando. La diferencia entre eso y alguien haciendo una auditoría forénsica es que el auditor forénsico, por eso que es tan caro, tiene que ser un CPA licenciado y está buscando fraude. Pero es muy importante que las dos cosas funcionen, porque cuando viene un CPA que está haciendo a una auditoría forénsica, él está también buscando qué fue lo que el CPA de la asociación encontró. Otra cosa, los CPAs de la asociación van a poner si hay déficits, van a poner si hay red flags, van a hablar de la reserva, del dinero, cómo se utilizó, que eso son cosas que financieramente en los estados financieros no habla. Eso honestamente le da a un propietario una idea de en qué dirección la asociación está funcionando, porque el CPA que la asociación le hace reporte va a poner esos déficits en ese reporte, y también la mayoría de las veces no es el mismo contador que está haciendo los estados financieros mensualmente. Eso es una compañía separada que lo está haciendo. Así que ahora tiene un property manager haciendo financiero mensual, una compañía de CPA haciendo la auditoría final del año, y después, si se busca otra compañía, ahora tienen 3 compañías diferentes para poder asistir a la policía o a la fiscalía. Pero
No.
le voy a decir algo. Ajá.
Por favor, vamos a tener respeto a todas las personas que están aquí que tienen preguntas. Puedes hablar con Tamara después de eso, pero creo que la respuesta de la auditoría es que ahora con esos documentos tienen más potencial de llevar un delito directamente a la fiscalía y ya la investigación es mucho menos porque tienen todo. Vamos a seguir a la próxima pregunta. Thank you.
Hello. Hello, good morning.
Please, let's keep the volume down. Yes. Wait, I'm sorry. There's someone else waiting right now. We're going around the room as much as possible. Okay, sir, there's someone else with the microphone at this time.
Okay,
Okay. No, the gentleman in the back. Sorry.
thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much. First of all, thank you, Madam Mayor and distinguished panelists, for this opportunity to be able to come and express ourselves and ask our questions. So I think someone earlier said that you don't want government micromanaging your affairs, and I agree. However, this is one instance where I would hope and I would really want government, in this case my city, the city of Doral, to maybe take a more proactive stance in helping our communities or our associations like the one I live in, that due to general mismanagement, financial struggles from mismanagement, financial struggles after COVID, have unfortunately begun to become run down. In my community, it's been 15 years since we've had our roofs pressure cleaned, our asphalts resurfaced. So when I come home, and where I live, like the majority of us do, that's what we consider Doral, okay? Because that's where we spend 90% of our time is in our homes, and as we drive into our homes. And I do want to thank you, Mayor, for your facade grant program for commercial establishments. I think it's a great idea, and a portion of that allows for grants for the entry features of condominiums, which is great, but I would hope if you could consider extending that, finding maybe the money and the grants to help these struggling communities like mine to maybe pressure clean the roof, to maybe resurface the asphalt, and help us a little bit, because at the end of the day, when my friends and family come to visit me, that's the Doral they see, okay? They don't see City Place. They don't see downtown Doral. They see my community with a rundown, ugly roofs and the parking bumps that are all broken. And we live in Doral, and we need your help. And if you could help us in that way, it would be greatly appreciated. And I thank you in advance.
Thank you. We're going to try and come to this side of the room for a little bit. Para este lado. We're going to try and come to this side of the room for a little bit, and then we'll come back to this side. Everybody's been waiting to ask their questions. We're going to do our best to get to as many as possible.
Hello. Hi. Thank you, Ms. Fraga. Appreciate having the amazing panel here. I can see that, I'm just going to do context. I can see that we're struggling with very similar problems in here. So I heard you talking about criminality, immorality, and I have a specific question in our case, right? We're going to then to the lawyers, specifically about 2 or 3 things that we have. We have 4 people of our community here. We live in a community, Modern Doral. I'm going to be very honest. Associa is our management. And we have, I was there to say, the biggest conflict of interest that I've heard in any of the bigger communities in Doral. And here goes my question. Our voting member, our board president, are also real estate owners that manage properties in the community, and they approve whoever gets in or not into the community. Her wife, his wife, it's the one that does all the remodelations in the community. and she's the one that gets the first sight of who comes into the community, and she comes to you with kickbacks that is been hard to prove, where she says, I can get you the right person here to build your pergola, and I will care about the general contractor and about the permits. You for sure will have everything that you need, and I will approve it because she's also the president of the architectural community. So you can see how this is almost like a never-ending problem, and they've been there for 5 years. So here comes my question. I think it's one of the topics that we have here about the toxic communities and our rights into the elections, right? We haven't been able, and I was part of the board 2 years ago, and I had to resign because I couldn't tolerate that anymore. And now I'm trying to get in again, and they're putting more and more. Where are our rights, and how can we to the recall or have elections when our system seems to be rigged and it's hard to change because they talk that this is something that goes all the way to the I forgot the name of the biggest statutes. See, there you go. Thank you very much. So if the answer is too long, I understand we can discuss afterwards. Something short, make us understand our rights on how to. We'll appreciate if you can.
There is no short answer, but just to also point out that the CAM statute has also is part of this omnibus condo legislation, and it focuses on conflict of interest and also has numerous provisions and also an administrative penalty. So the CAM statute is finally addressing these issues of conflict of interest, and I would encourage you to really understand and see if that applies.
Okay, we're gonna go to, I think, where's the microphone? Okay. I know. We're trying to get this way, yes.
Aló. Buenas tardes. Yo tengo una pregunta general para todos. ¿Es permitido o legal que para que el dueño de un apartamento le obliguen a convertir o hacerlo al manager, hacerlo proxy, que usa esos proxies en las elecciones y para los assessments y para los budgets?
Muy buena pregunta. So the question is, if a owner rents his apartment, can he give his proxy to the manager? Can the manager become his proxy? That's the question. Can the manager become the proxy?
Are they?
Oh, they're forced.
No.
Are they? So the question is, if your apartment is being rented, apparently this association is forcing the owner to give the proxy to the manager.
Okay.
I don't think that's.
Corto, la respuesta corta es no. Obviamente tendría que leer las bylaws, las leyes de su asociación, obviamente. Pero si el bylaw no lo dice, usted no, como dueño de tu propiedad, no estás obligado a dar tu proxy a nadie. Solo.
Okay.
En muchos casos tienes que decirle quién es el proxy para tu unidad, pero no estás obligado, en la experiencia mía, no estás obligado a dar tu proxy a nadie, especialmente el property manager.
So la respuesta corta es no, no hay ninguna obligación basado en tu bylaws, claro, pero si tiene algún caso específico, vaya a ver a los abogados para que ellos te entiendan mejor. Okay, next question. We're gonna take 3 more questions, and then we're going to disperse so that way we can move on to the other presentations. And we're going to come on this side. And also remember that you still have the opportunity to go ask your questions independently. It's just not in the full group, okay?
Hello?
Yes.
Hi.
Please, can we get some quiet so that we can continue?
Yes, hi. I've been coming to this condo sessions for a while now. Hello. I have experience on condo board, HOA board in New York and in Florida. My association was finally have an election after the 7 years because of the effort, small group of people. I want to draw your attention.
Yes.
I want to draw your attention to a scheme, whether intentional or by chance. Just take a look at this. Board director, no access to records, to invoices. Okay? This structure that allows HOAs 70 to govern condo units. Basically, 2 people are in charge of everything out of 13 possible positions because of the structures of condo associations and master on top. Please look into that. 2 people. And then on top of that, rigged bidding. Why? Why do we allow property managers with conflict of interest, clear conflict, disclosed or undisclosed, maybe not disclosed at all, to deal with bids, to organize the bids? I can show them to you. Okay, I have access to some records. Bids that don't look real. Work without permits. I have complaints against the manager, big management company, okay? I have complaints against the licenses. Work without permits, structural work without permits, okay? Look into the conflict of interest.
Thank you very much. Remember, let's ask for questions. Let's do questions. You can absolutely go to the tables directly and talk to the Miami-Dade County Economics Crime Bureau, as well as the legislative offices to bring this forward. Okay. The state representative will touch on the conflict of interest issue very quickly.
Okay. So there are laws that we pass for conflict of interest, very specific even to property managers. They are supposed to disclose any sort of conflict of interest within their board meetings for the association. But it is by law required that they have to do that. If they don't do that, obviously, then we have a different issue that we need to see legally with council. But the laws are in place where these conflict of interest clauses do exist, and they're supposed to disclose that. Whether or not they don't, obviously, that is an issue we have to take legally. And I wanted to emphasize also, DBPR does have a part of the agency that investigates CAMs or property managers. We have a specific clause that we investigate, even have in many cases have taken away licenses for situations that they've broken statutes. So if it's an issue with a certain specific property manager, I would recommend reaching out to DBPR, reach out to my office. We can try to get an investigation set up through there. But obviously, the laws are in place. We just need to make sure that it gets enforced.
Okay, we have another question right over here.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. No. The microphone. When you have the microphone, you can ask the question. We're moving forward this way. So, yes.
I'm not sure if you guys could hear me.
Yes.
And I've met a lot of you guys throughout the years, especially trying to fight for our rights. Our community has been in a very difficult situation for 15 years with the same board, no elections, a lot of conflict of interest, including one of those times that we had a meeting. People were saying, well, Ms. President, you have your son in there. Why don't you, stop doing this? And she kept saying, well, it's not my son. It's not my son. At the end of the meeting, she was, well, it's the son of another father. I mean, come on, she's the same mother, obviously. So these type of behaviors, community-wise, has been affecting not only me, but the rest of the Florida, especially here. There's teeth in not only the bylaws, our homes, our communities, DBPR, and we face not only a lot of challenges, but right now, after 15 years and 3 years of battling, we finally had 3 elections dates for this year, changed unilaterally by the property manager and the board. And the current board just basically left. Two of the members were put in by the same people who put us in the situation. They have the same attorney, same CPA. We're, a little suspicious because there's no records of anything we've been paying. All of a sudden, they want to do a special assessment for favors that they claim we have paid. So there's a lot of suspicious activity. Recently, just this past Monday, we finally got elections. We had to go, literally, I spoke to Juan Carlos, and I mentioned we had to go to Tallahassee to enforce our rights. We as owners should not have to do this, but if we have to, it's a tiring process. So finally, pushing elections, got 3 our board members on our group of owners after 3 years. We're having a lot of pushback in the transition. And one of those things that we wanted to actually look into is very basically my current question. We had a Hurricane Irma, for 2017. They had adjusting, go into all the properties saying, okay, not a problem, we'll be able to actually fix this, we're going to take care of the roofs. Turns out that the board filed a claim.
He's asking.
They filed a claim a year after, so it was not timely filed. Now we're finding ourselves that they filed a lawsuit. The board at the time, they had a settlement of $400,000, which is about 10% of that value. Now we're having to have the reserves full to be able to cover the damages of the roofs. Why don't we have legislature change the laws where there's error or mishandling of our rights and go after them to be able to actually get those funds to roofs that we shouldn't be having to pay for? That's not right. So we're
okay. Allow him to answer the question. Please, from now on, ask your question. We don't need to hear the whole backstory. Give us the question, and that way we can try and get to as many as possible.
Yes, and thank you for the question. I know we've spoken about Shoma Homes on more than one occasion, and thank you for coming all the way to Tallahassee. Specifically to your question, obviously, I would love to look into that in a legislative approach, and I'd love to sit down with you at a further time to kind of dive deep into that policy. But one avenue, obviously, and we've seen this obviously with the hammocks, with the homeowners getting some of this money back through legal means. Obviously, we have a receivership, which obviously some people are concerned about, but the receiver has been able to get some of the money that was mismanaged or stolen from the association to then pay for some of the things that happened in the past. So obviously a lot of it, unfortunately, I mean, legally, speaking, I think you can recuperate a lot of that. I'm looking for the state to give you a buyout just because of the HOA has been mismanaged. Unfortunately, I don't know if there's really much I can do, and that's really, there is some merit to that. So I'd love to sit down with you at another time and
okay, we have another question here, and then we're gonna take one more. We have a video from Representative Vicky Lopez on the condo side of the law, and then we're going to break out into the sessions.
Just a short comment to the gentleman that just made the question. The power is in your hands to make the change, because we just did it in our association. I fought 5 associations, and we did 2 recalls simultaneously. It was hard, but we won. You have to have 51% or more of your community to fight the board in order for you to make the changes you want to make.
Okay, question. Thank you.
Make the changes, and I have the questions here. We have one matter. One of the associations right now has been paid no documents because so you white collar that we could to the previous management not
working backwards to provide the financial records right now, that loan instance, there's nothing that I, as the state attorney's office, can do about that. With the current state of the law. No, and I appreciate that. But what I'm getting at, though, is that, and that's one of the things that we've been battling for a long time, is to try to impose some, even minimal criminal penalties to allow law enforcement to come in when we see that people are refusing to turn over records. And keep in mind, we're not dense. We understand that a lot of times the refusal to turn over records is precisely because they're trying to hide, the evidence of a potential crime. But that suspicion alone is not enough to create a crime. You have to have the laws written, and right now we're still waiting for the governor's signature. And just to answer one question, because I've already had a number of questions regarding this, even if the law is signed and it becomes effective, I believe in July, it doesn't apply retroactively. So it's only things that would happen after that period of time. Now, with respect to where that money went, I believe you said it went to one vendor who has no license, I see examples of that all the time. It's very difficult in a context, in a big crowd, to hear a few lines and then to make an assessment as about whether or not you could file a white-collar crime case. I would encourage you to gather whatever documents you have. You can take them to the police. You can bring them to the state attorney's office. I want to say at this juncture that the state attorney's office does not have the investigative capacity to independently run these investigations. What we'll do is we'll review things, and then we will reach out to our law enforcement partners to try to work with us. Because a lot of times, if you just go into the police department and throw some records at them, they're going to look at that and they're going to go, well, I don't know that the state attorney is ever going to do anything. So if you come to us, we make an assessment of it. We can help you, maybe tell you what questions to ask, things to find out, other records you can bring in. Then we can contact, and we email and talk to each other all the time. I can say, hey, Sergeant, I think there's something here. Please set a meeting and we'll all sit down and meet. But again, answering that question here, I'm not going to say, yes, you have a case. That's...
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. First, I want to say I understand that everybody is very passionate, has a lot of questions. We are about 30 minutes over the session. We do have all the attorneys that are going to be coming up here and doing their presentations as well. Remember, open session from 1 to 4 where you can go ask your questions directly. I know we want to do it in a group and you feel that it's going to impact, and I'm sure it will. I want to thank you all for speaking today without fear, with a lot of passion, because that is why we're here. We're here for you and to try and help bring closure and bring solutions and solve the problems that are happening, that we are very aware that are happening. I want to thank Juan Carlos Porras, our state representative. I want to thank all the panelists. Listen, not only State Representative Juan Carlos Porras, I know David Borrero is here too, who was our state representative. They've been champions for you and for these associations so that we can fix this and you all have tools necessary to be able to combat this. I also want to recognize very quickly our councilman, Rafael Pinedo from the city of Doral, who's here with us as well now. Quiero decir, primero que nada, gracias a todos por hablar sin temor, por hablar con pasión. Estamos aquí por ustedes. Sabemos que esto es un tema muy, muy sensible. Perdona que no vamos a poder hacer todas las preguntas, pero esto no se ha terminado. Cada abogado ahora va a hacer su sesión hablando de su especialidad en estos temas. Y nosotros vamos a estar aquí hasta las 4 de la tarde para contestar sus preguntas independientemente, cada una de sus preguntas, ¿ok? A cerrar con esta última pregunta, vamos a tener un video de Vicky López, que es la representante que trabajó la ley de la parte de condos. Y de nuevo queremos agradecer a este panel. Estamos 30 minutos por arriba del panel, así que muchísimas gracias a todos ustedes. Tenemos esta última pregunta para cerrar.
Muchas gracias. Yo soy dueña de un apartamento y el señor al que yo le tenía rentado ha muerto, no tiene a nadie y el condominio no me permite entrar para sacar las cosas que habían allí porque él era acumulador, me destruyó la puerta, la policía para poderlo sacar del apartamento. El apartamento en estos momentos está con puerta derribada, está a expensas de el que quiera entrar y el condominio me dice que yo no puedo entrar.
Mira, para esta pregunta la vamos a llevar a un abogado específico, ¿ok? Porque estamos haciendo preguntas general. Pero espérame y yo te voy a llevar a un abogado que los puede ayudar. Vamos a hacer el video. Thank you guys. Thank you very much.
I'm Vicki Lopez, State Representative from District 113, and it is my pleasure. Good morning. I'm Vicki Lopez, State Representative from District 113, and it is my pleasure to welcome you today to the Doral HOA and Condo Update. As many of you know, I have focused many of my legislative efforts on condominiums. In 2023, I passed Senate Bill 154, which focused on milestone inspections and financial reserves. That legislation was in response to the terrible tragedy that we all know about, which was in Surfside when Champlain Towers collapsed and killed 98 people in the middle of the night. And this past summer, I spent my time on a listening tour, listening to all of our condo stakeholders, condominium owners, condominium board members, property managers, and also the Department of Business and Professional Regulation, which has the authority to regulate condominiums. And from those conversations, I sponsored House Bill 1021, which focuses on condominium governance and community association management. I'm excited for you all today as you learn more about these laws that we have passed that impact condominiums. And I'm hopeful that you will all go to myfloridahouse.gov, read the bill, but more importantly, read the staff analysis, which will give you a great history and what the bill does. I wish you a very, very happy Saturday and look forward to working with many of you as we continue our legislative efforts on condominiums and HOAs. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Representative Lopez. Next, we have J. Muir and Associates, Toxic Associations and Enforcing Your Rights.
Thank you, Mayor Fraga. Hi, everybody. I'm Jane Muir, and this is my colleague, Victoria Morton, my partner. By a show of hands, how many of you would characterize your association as toxic? Yeah, I can see a lot of hands. Okay, so we have a little presentation, if we can get that up on the screen. Oh, by toxic, I mean you've got a lot of conflict. You have a lot of corruption, potentially. I heard conflicts of interest as an issue. Maybe no bid contracts being given out. High assessments, high fees. That is the kind of thing that we are here to talk about today. And how